Hey everyone, Ashley Mailloux and Mike Beer here with a stakes preview for Aqueduct this Sunday, the Central Park. It's race number 5 at a mile for 2-year-olds on the turf course. It's actually going to kick off the late pick 5 sequence, and it's a difficult way to kick off a sequence like that, Mike. We have a big field here of these 2-year-olds, and we'll take a look at the entry card here. And it's not just 8; it's going to carry on to the next page as well. And a lot of these horses have shown some ability in their first couple career starts, but some of them are going to try new things, stretch out in distance from, say, 6 furlongs to a mile, and others just looking to maybe find the winner's circle for the first time in a bit.
Yeah, that could be the key point that you raised there, actually. Some of the faster horses in this race, horses coming off of really good performances, are stretching out in distance for this race. So that just sort of adds another layer to it. A bunch of lightly raced horses in here for really top connections. And they've all run races that I feel like you could look at and say, boy, there are several horses that have a chance to win here.
Absolutely. And you kind of touched upon the pace already. We'll take a look at the Time Form US pace projections. And this is exactly what you were just speaking about. It, calls for a fast pace here, but looking at the number 6 works for me. This one of the Joseph Lee barn, obviously, if he opts to stay in the spot, comes out of a 6 furlong turf event at Aqueduct where obviously it's sprint speed, right? So this horse could be part of the pace scenario early on, but it's going to have to try something new, which is going around 2 turns.
Yeah, he ran really well in that turf race last time too. Just getting caught at the end by a couple of closers. He's also entered in a stakes race on dirt earlier this week on Saturday against fellow New York bred. So maybe they'll opt to run in that spot. But if they run here, he probably does make the lead.
You can see Typhoon Fury's shown a little bit of speed also coming out of a sprint race. And then there's the trustworthy Spirit Prince, who Mike, is a maiden in here. He's 0 for 4, but he's yet to finish worse than third in those 4 starts.
He's run pretty well in all 4 of his starts. He just can't quite get the job done at the end. Clement's going to keep the faith here and run him in another stakes race as a maiden.
Big field here, so let's dive right into it. The number 1 Wine Collector. We'll take a look at that most recent win. This is one of the few horses in the races with multiple wins under the belt. This coming at Laurel Park at the end of October. I thought this horse got a really nice trip just sitting off the pace, and the pace was moderate enough that he was able to kind of, wear down the pace setters in here.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought he got a really good trip in this race. I do respect the fact that he's a 2-time winner coming into this race. The problem with him is he did get a perfect trip here. They've already tried him in a couple of stakes races, and it just seemed like he wasn't up to that level of competition either time.
The number 2, Typhoon Fury, talking about George Weaver in the year that he's had with 2-year-olds. He's had a lot of success. This one was able to graduate last time out, and they tried to get him on the turf prior to that, but it seemed like that was kind of the wake-up call for him last out.
Yeah, it probably was. It seemed like maybe the turf woke him up a little bit. It was certainly a good performance from this horse. I don't really know that I feel like he's going to be better stretching out. I'm not really sure that even if he runs that race back, it's going to be good enough against a field like this one. I don't want to knock him too hard because he did run well last time, Ashley, but I'll just wait and see what kind of price he is, because if he's not, some kind of big price in here, I don't think I could use him.
The number 3, Sanderson, was able to stretch out last time to a mile and a 16th at Laurel, and a completely different change of tactics. This one was forwardly placed and was able to take them gate to wire. I want to get your thoughts on the race, because this is a horse, similarly to the other horse we just talked about, really turned it around.
Yeah, he really did. I feel like maybe distance has something to do with that, because he is really bred to be a horse who wants to go longer. They sprinted him first time out at Saratoga, and when you just go back and watch that replay, he just, to me, looked really good. He was very intimidated in between horses in that race, and it just felt like he gave up in the stretch there for a little bit. He was totally different last time. He was much more professional, right on the lead in there, never gave that field a chance. Listen, maybe he just beat a bad field with a soft trip. That's certainly possible, but I think there are things to like about this horse, and he is going to be a price in this race.
To his outside, the number 4, Uncle Truly. We'll take a look at his most recent effort. He debuted at Kentucky Downs, which can be tough, and then he goes to Woodbine, which isn't much easier necessarily. It's a different configuration on the EP Taylor. But looking at this performance from this one for Jonathan Thomas, I thought this horse got a great trip from Kazushi Kimura, was sitting just off the pace, is able to mow down the pace setters, but makes it look pretty easy here in the end.
I like that about him, too. I like that he comes up the inside on this horse. I like that he runs right by an odds-on favorite in the late stages of this race to win going away. And I like the fact that he actually built upon his debut at Kentucky Downs, where he ran pretty well that day, too. I mean, this horse has a really nice pedigree. He's run well twice. He comes off of a convincing win. I mean, I didn't think he was hard to make a case for at all.
Yeah, you talk about the Strawbridge horses. They are well-bred top to bottom, and this one is no exception to that. Now, to his outside is the number 5, Ready Buddy, who was a pretty nice horse earlier in his campaign down at Colonial, but in his last couple, he's fallen a little bit flat and really hasn't been, kind of part of anything in the end, especially in those last two.
Another horse that just feels like the stakes races so far anyway, they've been way too tough for him. He's another one who has to stretch out in distance here. There are a lot of horses that you could make strong cases for in this race. I didn't think he was one of them.
The number 6 works for me. I'm curious to get your thoughts on him. Obviously, last time out, he got to the turf for the first time. I know it was a sprint, but the number comes back pretty strong. And knowing that he was forwardly placed, he only misses by half a length at double digits.
I thought he went really well in that race, and I liked all of his dirt races too. I think he's a good dirt horse, and maybe he showed last time he's even better on the turf. I don't know. I mean, I thought he ran really well there. I don't know that I necessarily want to bet him stretching out against this kind of a field, but I think it's pretty clear that if he runs that race back and that figure that he earned, if he runs that in this spot, he'll be a contender.
We'll take a look next at the number 7, Wally World for Chad Brown. We'll take a look at the graduation score last time out, going to mile and a 16th at the Belmont at Aqueduct meet. And this is kind of what we've come to expect. If horses out of the Chad Brown barn don't fire on debut, they really can shine a second time out. And he ends up being a big price here. He's not really loved by the betting public, but he's going to draw on like a good thing.
Yeah, he wins this race really convincingly at the end. I think this is a good field that he beats too. He's a horse who had real trouble in his debut at Saratoga. It was kind of his own fault in some ways because he was still green, but he had a big trip in that debut at Saratoga, and he was obviously just way better last time. Man, he's supposed to be pretty hard to beat in here, I think.
Yeah, Manny Franco's been aboard for the first 2, sticks with him here, and just a rider you always have to watch, especially in New York when riding for Chad. Now to the outside, the number 8 Quokka. This one out of the Tom Albertrani barn. Didn't show anything on debut. It was a race that was moved to the main track, but he's another one too that next time out he was forward on the turf and he was able to get the job done narrowly.
Yeah, pedigree says he's supposed to be better on turf. He was way better on turf in his second career start. Albertrani's barn has actually been going pretty well recently, especially with their turf horses. So I think that may be a good sign for this horse. It's obviously a pretty significant step up in class, though.
Now I want to pick your brain on the number 9 Spirit Prince. We alluded to it earlier. He's been there. He's there every step of the way in his 4 starts, but he's a maiden still. And it feels like the connections have high hopes for him. They keep him in these stakes races looking for that graduation score.
Yeah, I'm actually a little surprised that they press on with him again in another stakes race, but it's not like he's in over his head here. Here's his most recent start, another stakes race here at Aqueduct. I don't know. He runs fine in this race. He has every chance to win again, and he just can't quite get the job done as a pretty short favorite as well. His races are fine. He's not, I guess, that hard to make a case for. I just personally, I haven't liked him since his debut. I didn't really like his debut that much, and I don't really like anything he's done since then.
Yeah, he's just kind of quit or hung in his races so far here. As you mentioned, he had every opportunity to win and was unable to do so. Next, we'll move on to the number 10, Frontline Warrior. This one of the Shug McGahee barn. Now, to me, this is maybe a little bit of a different story. A horse that's kind of been knocking at the door, was able to get it done last time out. But to me, his versatility is maybe probably the most attractive thing about him.
I agree with you. He drew towards the outside, which isn't, necessarily a great thing, but he's got really good tactical speed. So I think he can work out a trip from out there. And I just like it's typical Shug stuff here. He just progressing with every start. He gets a little bit better every time they send him out there. He got a really good trip last time when he won at Keeneland, but I liked the finish that he put in up the inside in that race.
To his outside is the number 11 Buffoon, the French-bred son of Lop de Vaga, who didn't really get the trip that he probably needed on debut at Saratoga. He ends up getting bumped up to 6, but the pace was pretty soft. And then next time out, he was closer to the pace and was able to get the job done.
Yeah, I like both of his races. He was in that Wally World race at Saratoga. It was a very roughly run race. There was a lot going on in the stretch there. This horse was part of it. Maybe didn't cost him as much as it costed Wally World in there, but he still had some trouble. I thought he was even better than it looks maybe at Keeneland last time, because to me, that pace looked really fast, and he kept right up close to it, still had enough left to take over in the stretch, and he was still going under the wire. He's bred to be better going longer, so I don't know that dropping back to a mile necessarily helps him, nor does post 11, but this horse can run.
And then rounding out the main body of the field from post 12 is Blue Creek, this one trained by Kerry Bryan. This is a horse that I think, Mike, when I just look at, is going to need pace help through and through. Obviously, you talk about post 11 for the other runner being problematic. I don't think post 12 really helps this runner as well.
It doesn't. They're just going to have to probably take him right back to last and hope that something works out for him. And you mentioned the pace. I agree with you. I think he needs pace, and maybe he'll get it here. But he had pace last time in the Award, and he still wasn't quite good enough.
And just to note, there isn't also eligible the number 13 Day Away, and there's a runner for the main track only, Panda Gate, in the event that this race does get washed off and moved to the main track. But Mike, I'm curious to get your thoughts here. I felt like this race there's 5 or 6 horses that easily could win it.
I agree. It's one of those races I think you want to keep an open mind, wait and see what kind of prices are available at post time, and then make your final decision. I took Sanderson on top because I do like his 2 races, and I kind of know he's going to be a price in here. So that's the main reason why I took him, because there are a lot of different ways to go. I probably would have had Buffoon on top if he had a little bit of a better post position, because I like both of his races as well.
I'm going to go to the number 4, Uncle Truly. I just like this horse's performance last time out at Woodbine. You pointed it out, was able to make up some ground on the inside, which is necessarily not that easy on horses, especially 2-year-olds. And the big thing here is going to be the odds, right? Come post time, what the odds will be, because I think maybe that'll sway my bet and what I'm going to play here, because I think this is a great betting race top to bottom. But 3-11, 4-7 for Mike, and for me, 4-9, 11-10 in the Central Park race number 5 at Aqueduct.